Hello. Hello. Did we get this on the right chat? That's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Hello. JDS, Heaven's Essentials. Linda, hey, 180 from Average. Happy anniversary, guys. Homestead in the Highlands. What is up? Here goes the chat. Major Impact. Hannah Rose, hello. The Music Well, how are you? Homesteading with the Huberts. I'm not sure how to say that. How far are we from Big Bear? 9 hours, 10 hours?
No, it's 10 hours to SC. It's less than that.
So like 9 hours or so.
And they're an hour away from that, so yeah, I think it's right.
So I was like, why is the rum gone? And then I saw that was by someone called Jack Sparrow. So, hey, Angela Griswold. Hey, Gail. Lay down, Con.
Con, lay down. Lay down.
How are you guys doing? We're doing really well. Our trip was really good. And today has been really good. Pretty restful afternoon today. Jeremiah went out to feed the animals and it started to rain, so that was lovely. But we had a really good trip to Denver. We got up at 4 a.m. yesterday and flew home. And
we got to the airport like at 6 and got through security by 6:05. So we probably overestimated our time on that one.
Yeah, well, Denver's such a big airport. We expected it to take a lot longer.
And we flew out at 8:20. So we had 2 hours and 20 minutes to sit.
Well, later than that because the flight was a little delayed. Yeah. So
lesson learned.
But it was a short flight. I don't know. You missed Malia's flight that one time. I don't think I've ever missed a flight before. But I'm always like, I'm the kind of person I would rather err on the side of caution when it comes to flying. So I usually give a little bit more time than is probably necessary. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. We've had a good weekend. Oh, hi from Knoxville, Tennessee, Paige Walker. That's awesome. I used to live in Knoxville for 2 years. I loved Knoxville. It's a great town. Shelby Donaldson said, just have to tell you how your tomato video was such a big help. Thank you, Shelby. I'm glad to hear that.
Teenage farming first live video.
Oh, well, welcome. Oh, yeah, Natalie, I remember that you missed that flight. That's one time I almost missed a flight once. Thankfully, a stranger took mercy on us. Whenever I was coming
hop on your private jet to head out to California, you should stop in Minnesota and pick us up.
Yeah, right.
Oh, if that was true.
When I was coming back from India, I was traveling with my friend Daniel, and we were like stupidly exhausted. That trip was nuts, and I think that by the end of that 10-day period, we had gone on 13 flights in 10 days. Like, it was crazy. And we were just flying different places every morning, like on mornings, on evenings, like through the night. And on our way back, of course, we're like crazy jet lag because it's like a 15-hour time difference. And we actually fell asleep at the gate, sitting there waiting for our last flight home. I don't remember where we were. Somewhere, like, there was a layover somewhere. And I think it was Atlanta. Anyway, we slept at the gate for like 2 hours. We had a long layover. And we almost missed our flight. Like, they were calling our names over the intercom kind of thing. And somebody woke us up and they were like, hey, are you guys? And they asked us and we were like, yeah. And they said, they're calling for you. You're about to miss your flight. And we're like, oh my gosh, we're so tired. It was really, really funny. It wouldn't have been funny if we'd missed our flight. I don't think my family would have thought it was very funny if I had taken any longer. I'd been gone for 2 weeks. Oh, yeah, Liz Zorab. Hey, congratulations. I'm so glad you got all your stuff worked out and that you're back. Back being monetized. It's such a... Hey, Lauren. Green Zebra Gardening, what's up? Sunshine always. You'll never go on a plane. It's a weird thing. I love flying. I think it's really cool. It is pretty uncomfortable and a little scary, but I don't know. It's just amazing to me. I'm always in awe of flying. Happy Valley, we're starting school tomorrow. We're starting homeschool tomorrow, and my 2 older boys started. Asher went back to public school this year, which is a new thing. He wanted to try it, so we let our older kids try it. We make an agreement that they can do public school as long as we don't see it affecting their character. And Jackson's done really well in public school for the last 2.5 years, and Asher's trying this time. So, wow, from Guam, all the way in Guam. Cool. I agree, Kathy. Takeoff and landing is the best. Do you like flying? I think flying is probably a lot more uncomfortable when you're like a bigger dude. I like
flying better than driving.
That's true. I don't have any problems fitting in airplane seats. I have plenty of leg room and all that stuff because I'm pretty, I guess average size. But whenever I see really, really tall people come through, I'm like, yeah, that stinks for them. Flying is rough. Jeremiah's half awake. You haven't said hardly anything. You should say something.
Something.
I'm rattling.
No, you're good.
Actually, Jeff Callahan, we did not get free peanuts because we flew Frontier and you have to pay for your snacks. You do get cheap fares.
It was like $37 for a bag of peanuts.
We don't know how much the snacks
I looked it up.
Hey, Art and Bree, what is up? How are y'all?
Oh, man. Yeah, I haven't talked to you guys in a while.
I've been watching their videos. They've been going through some stuff with mold in their house.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Someone else was asking about how to get rid of mold. Maybe y'all should get together and help each other out.
Somebody was asking.
Just now they're saying, I've got some kind of mold. How do I get rid of it? And I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah, they're going through they're getting some
When insurance is not covering it, is it?
Usually
I remember
it
that
doesn't.
video. Yeah,
Usually it doesn't.
Really crappy. Yeah, but Art, if that's you, I have a feeling it might not be Art, but if it is Art and he is listening, I put that compost video on my playlist in iTunes. It's such a good tune.
Gail Elwood said she loves looking out the window at the colorful quilt that is the earth. I agree with that. It's just amazing. And flying over mountains. We're going to Santa Rosa, California in 3 weeks, and I'm so excited to fly over the mountains. We didn't go over
a window seat.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a window seat.
Well, we'll have Jackson Asher, so we probably will get.
Whenever, oh man, I wonder if one of our kids is gonna have to sit alone on the flight.
No, I'll probably have to sit next to a bunch of strangers, so it'll be fine.
I'm taking Jackson and Asher with me to California, and I'm really, really pumped about that.
Unless Jackson's being a punk, and then he can sit by himself.
Green Zebra Gardening, we're flying into San Francisco when we come to Santa Rosa. Oh, Rainy Days Hollow. What's the best way to transport my plants if I'm moving to a different state? I don't know. I never did that before. Carefully. That's not helpful. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer to that.
Can't read all the chat. Washing dishes. That still doesn't tell me who that is from Art Bree. I think it's Bree. Are you guessing Bree?
Yeah, probably. Art. I don't know.
I don't want to insult Art as if he's not a good husband and would wash dishes. But my gut is telling me that it's Bree.
Yeah, Shelby.
Art's too busy making rap songs about compost.
We didn't have little screens on the back of the seats because we did fly Frontier. Basically, the premise behind Frontier Airlines is that you can get really cheap tickets, but it's bare bones service. And unfortunately, to bring a carry-on is $70. That is not even included. And to check a bag,
I wasn't sure. I think maybe the check bag was free.
Really?
I don't remember. There was a bunch of weird. It's kind of weird. But half my family drove, so we actually sent our luggage with my brother Noah in his car. And so we actually didn't have to take any clothes or luggage.
Problem is my luggage isn't back yet. It has a lot of clothes on it, but it's okay. Be Earthy Homestead, where would your dream property be? We actually were discussing this the other day. And Jeremiah, like, we have a hard time, like, getting out of reality and just, like, dreaming without reality. And he was talking about how he would love a place like Montana. And what was the other one you said? Was it Utah? He said, he's like, but that wouldn't work because you would need a different growing season. Like, you would be bummed about the growing season.
I don't know. Foothills of Texas wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. I fell in love with the Pacific Northwest, but I would not want to live that far away from our family. I think I could handle it being within like a day trip, or like where you could drive in a day, but you can't do that from the Pacific Northwest. So that is beautiful, but I don't know that I could really live there.
I don't know.
Cosmopolitan Cornbread said, look into my eyes. You dream of Northern Alabama.
Look into my eyes.
She lives there near Daniel.
No, I actually never considered like a island or something that has a decent growing season. That's like
let's like just imagine it. Actually,
like I own an island that I can like raise all my animals on. We don't have to have fences. Got ocean, front property, freshwater, like waterfall. It's like filtered through the land. Like I don't know. There's like a paradise island out there that I'll buy someday if I ever become crazy rich.
I'm really fond of the Carolinas. And to be completely honest, I love Arkansas too. It's a great place to homestead. Basically if you'd like to know what our dream property would be, location aside, what would your dream property be, Sweet Maya? He wants at least 100 acres. Like Jeremiah dreams pretty big, and he would like to have enough property to like run cattle.
I wouldn't rule out New Zealand to live in essentially Middle Earth on Earth.
Like dream property, not like actual.
No, really, I think it'd be cool to live on Middle Earth on Earth. Yeah.
I don't want to move to New Zealand.
Why not?
I want to visit, but I don't want to move there. Because I can't live on the other side of the world from our family.
I'm not afraid of volcanoes, so we'll just tell the earth to chill out. In the name of Jesus. It'll be fine.
I don't know, like a lot of space and, some different, maybe like not all flat, but I would like to have like some good gardening space, obviously. And, some sort of water, like I have a journal and I have like a dream board where I put things down and just like put them before the Lord. And like for my dream property, I want there to be like water, like a pond or something, like a nice pond. And I want there to be an epic tree. That's what I'm talking about. Or like an epic tree. You know what I'm talking about? I don't mean like that's a cool tree. I mean like, wow.
Yeah, I mean like a epic white tree. And then we'll call it the tree of Gondor.
Peace be chill, volcanoes. That's hilarious.
That's basically how you would command a volcano to stop. Be chill.
Oh, Rose Downing said, if money were no object, I would have a farm vineyard in Tuscany, Italy. That would be beautiful. But you know what Rose Downing does have now is a property in Texas where she's going to get to have chickens finally and a big garden. And I'm super excited to watch her build it. Y'all have a massive elm tree, heirloom permaculture. I love a big tree.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a long conversation with our hillside folks about the future and if it's Kentucky.
I don't know, Stivers. We'll see.
There are a lot of factors. Like I wouldn't mind living somewhere other than here as long as we had it's really important to me to be able to stay connected with our family and to be able to see our family regularly. Like I wouldn't consider moving anywhere else if we weren't going to be in a financial position to be able to travel back and visit here and bring our family to visit us. But I don't know. We definitely want to have a bigger place. The issue that we have right now where we are, and we've discussed this some with you guys, but we only own 4 acres. Now we're currently essentially renting the property next door from Jeremiah's sister, and the house is empty and we use the land. So that gives us 7.5. And then we have a lease for the 90 next door that we just run our horses on. But if something happened, like if his sister decided to sell that house and that man decided to no longer lease that property to us, we have way too many animals for the space that we have. So we can't stay here without having more land. The other issue is, and we've shared this a little bit, but we're right on the street. And since our YouTube channel has gotten as big as it has, we've had some privacy issues. And so that's kind of something that we would like to change as well.
Yeah. When I find my dream property, my neighbors will not be within miles of me.
You're gonna probably have to have more space.
Obviously.
So you want more than 100 acres?
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of want to move to that place in Alabama that Daniel talked about.
You're gonna get Cosmopolitan Cornbread all excited.
100,000 square miles.
Oh yeah. Bless him.
It's like,
you can't make fun of Daniel. He's not here.
He'll watch it later if he's a true fan.
Jeremiah and Daniel both are the personalities where they just say numbers. Jeremiah's joked about this before on himself. But one time Daniel was talking about this national park, and he said it was 100,000 square miles wide.
And I was like, man, it just did not sound right to me. So I looked up like how far it was to the moon.
It was less than that.
And it was less than that. I was like, oh, so that much space fits in northern Alabama? That's a freaking huge federal reserve.
Yeah.
I think it was 1,000 square acres.
Yeah, it was something like that, which was much more reasonable.
It's big, but it's not like to the moon big,
Sunny DIY, that's kind of it. Like we would like to have enough space that like our family could live on as well, and not all be on top of each other. Northern Alabama is really beautiful. It really is a beautiful place. I lived in Knoxville, Eastern Tennessee, and it's very similar layout in some of those places. Yay, Heidi, your shirt's on the way. That's awesome.
I'm definitely not moving to Florida, unfortunately. Also, realized that I'm not moving to Denver either.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Not for me. Big cities, man. I do not like big cities. I am a country, small town girl. I grew up in the suburbs, but the thing is that Arkansas is just not that big. Like we were in Denver and we were like, wow, like our biggest city in Arkansas is nowhere near that. You want to tell people about Mumford & Sons?
It was probably in the top 3 of best live shows I've ever been to. It was cool.
Yep.
And my sister, Elizabeth, the one you met on the previous video, the big super fan. So he does it usually once per concert where Marcus Mumford, the lead singer, will run around, go out into the crowd and do something. And the way my sisters went like super early, they got there at like 2:00 and the concert didn't start till 7:30. And they were going to save seats. They were about to leave for that whenever I shot that video. Anyways, they got there, got our seats right up at the front of the general admission from the Fiddler's Green. And so the walkway between the green and the regular seating was right in front of us. And when he ran out into the crowd, he ran down that walkway and he jumped up 5 feet to our left. And so my sister ran over there and just stood right in front of him and reached out and touched his shoulder and basically died.
She was so excited.
So it was a lot of fun. And another cool thing was they deviated from their set list pretty extensively and ended up playing a lot of my siblings' favorite songs. And so it was a good night. There was a lot of crying from people, but it was good.
Yeah. Joy. I don't know about North Idaho. Honestly, I don't know that I could live anywhere with a growing zone under maybe 6. I think I could handle 6. But getting anything lower than that, getting anything colder than that, I don't know that I could do it. I have a hard time with the winter. I have a hard time in 7B with the growing season, when it's over. I don't know. I really don't know that I could do it.
Well, it's not really if we move. We are moving.
Yeah.
So it's not an if.
We're not going to be staying in this house.
We will be moving. I don't know when, but we're moving.
Yeah.
So it's not about if. But when we move, we are taking everything except the fowl. So chickens and ducks will not be traveling.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do with them. We'll probably just dump them in a neighbor's yard.
That's not true. Sunny DIY. Hi, Ivy. Glad you're watching. Ava. Is it Ava? Eva. So happy this past week. Your first heirloom mayo sandwiches. Yummy. We're getting... Constance is like, no, really, Northern Alabama. For real, though. Hey, single dad homesteading. You were in my dream last night.
I also will not be moving to Alabama. Actually, I think I moved to Canada before Alabama, and that's even colder than most places in America.
Canada, really?
Never moving to Alabama. I cannot put up with it's like the football stuff, and just can't do it.
Dennis, I'm wearing long sleeves because Jeremiah likes to keep our house very cold. And I am very cold natured. And so if it's 68 degrees in here, that's very cold to me. Our air conditioner works very well. So it's blowing very cold air. And so I wear long sleeves and sweaters in my house all through the summer. And because that brings peace in our marriage, and I would rather put on a sweater than fight over the thermostat. It's the crazy football people. It is.
It's hard to be around that many crazy football people.
Like a morgue. Yes, pretty much. It feels like it's so cold.
What is?
Our house.
Our house is not even that cold.
Okay, just by a show of comments. Thank you, April. She said, come move to Oregon. Oregon is the Pacific Northwest is mind-blowing. I can't wait to take Jeremiah back there. I'm going to come visit you next time, April, and I'm going to show him the Pacific Northwest. I loved it. I got to go up there for a weekend and spend a weekend with Shay, Ellie at the beginning of the year. I took my doTERRA team up there, and we did some training and stuff and just kind of like some team building, and I loved it. She lives in Washington, by Malaga, I guess, like wine country. My goodness, this is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. That is so far away from here.
Move to Florida, I will babysit. That's actually partially enticing because
what was I just saying? Oh yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think is a cold temperature? Do you think having a thermostat, and I don't mean like you put it on 68 because your AC struggling a little bit, so you set it a little lower and then it settles in at like 72. I mean like your house is 67 or 68 degrees.
Before you do this, you want to set a precedent of asking them.
Just this time.
No.
Never again.
No. When this door opens, it never shuts. This is Pandora. You're letting it out of the box. So now I can literally come to these lives.
No, they're just telling me what's normal for them. That's okay. They're not judging you. They're just telling me what's normal for them.
That's exactly I just want you to know what you're getting.
I actually did love my hair in Denver, Monique, because it wasn't massive. My curls actually stayed like curls instead of being a fro. See, whoa, Jacqueline Johnston has her house on 62.
Praise you.
65.
Praise you.
So, but Carmen said 68 is so cold.
72 seems to be the average.
See, that's actually what I would probably set it on. Is like 72.
It'll never be at 72.
I'm not going to say that. That's probably inappropriate.
Please do tell.
Whenever we really do get to arguing about this, I'm like, okay, well, if you want to set our house on a temperature that makes me put more clothes on, then be my guest. Go ahead. Sometimes we'll turn it up after that. So,
I bought more blankets.
Yeah, but to be honest though, like somebody said 68 unless they're sick. The tinker's wife, then 75.
Homestead in the Highlands, 64 in the living room, 58 in the bedrooms.
But in the winter, when it's really cold outside, we also keep it on like 68. We don't keep it super warm in here. We don't run our heater a lot. So we actually keep a fire going usually in the winter. And so I do not spend time downstairs because I hate being in the dark. Like I like to be in rooms with a lot of windows and natural light, except for the winter. And I post up by that fireplace like it's my job. 68 is not cold. I'm cold, but Oh, Mini Pearls, Mom, you got the store-bought tomatoes taste like disappointment shirt. That's awesome. Thank you, Valerie. There is a lot of laughter in our home, to be sure. Dawn, does anyone else remember fans in the windows and not falling asleep till like 2 a.m. in the summer heat? We actually, our air conditioner, when we bought our house as a foreclosure, we were really, really broke, and we bought this foreclosure, and the AC had, what was it? It had been like stripped and vandalized. Is that right? And so it never really worked, right? So they had put like, basically our house it was like a HUD house, and everything had been stolen. And so what they do is they flip the houses like in as cheap a way as possible. And so it's all just kind of not quite right. And they put a unit on our house that wasn't big enough for the house.
That wasn't the only thing. It was a 3-ton condenser with a 4-ton furnace, and then the heating element was gone, so he had to put a 3-ton heating element in a 4-ton furnace, and then he basically Frankensteined it all and made it work, kind of.
Yeah, and it didn't work very well, and so like you couldn't turn the oven on, and no
like,
matter what, it would be like 80.
If it ran all day without stopping, without even taking a break, it would be 76.
Yeah, at best. It could not go
lower
lower
than
than
the
that.
drain didn't work, so it would leak all the condensation onto the floor of the basement.
We had to have this bucket thing. It was awful. It was very, very rigged. But
so now that we have a really great system, and it can maintain 68 without it doesn't have to run all the time.
Well, but we got used to a hot house, and it was just normal. Like people would come over and they'd be like, "This is so uncomfortable," and I'd be like, "Well, go work outside for a little while. It'll feel cooler then." Like it was just what we had. So now that we have a good system, he can do it. Thank you, Shalimar Summers, about the devotional. It's my joy to get to share stuff like that, to be sure. Howling Dog Ranch. I'm excited to meet you at the Heirloom Expo next month as well. Can you guys use a swamp cooler in your area? Christina Chris, it's really interesting that you asked that, because today I was talking, we visited a church that we haven't been to. We've visited it a couple times, and a guy there works for this big local greenhouse operation. He was describing the coolers that they use, which are swamp coolers. So yes, you can. I don't use one, but I learned today that there are people in the area that use them.
Hey Lauren, will you throw up the Teespring link?
Oh, somebody asking about the shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody. Lauren is kind of she's like the link wizard. She gets it out there fast. As long as she's not on her phone. If she's on her phone, it might take her.
Yes, Tammy, I saw your post. I'm asking them to throw up the link.
And actually the code is still working today. Today's the last day of the coupon code. It's Roots, all caps, and it's 10% off. So if you're wanting to buy one of your shirts, today is the last day of that.
And then we also are going to be retiring some designs, I think.
Yes, of Little and Light. Everybody's loved the designs. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for those. Of Little and Light designed 2 of the shirts, and Goldshell Farm designed 2 of the shirts, and then I did 2 of them. I did the text ones. It was very easy, actually. Thank you, Tangela Williams. Valerie, we miss a lot of the comments, unfortunately. And hopefully, we always try to assure people that it's not personal. We're not trying to ignore anybody, but it's just really hard to keep up with. And like right now, what'll happen is our internet's not super great. And so I think sometimes streaming the video kind of extends its, like that's all the internet can do. That's why Jeremiah is always looking down, because he's got his phone right here. And this updates the comments faster than this screen. So a lot of times it'll pause and nothing will happen for a second. And then all of a sudden it puts up like 20 comments. And so yeah, we definitely miss stuff. We don't have any issues with neighbors that know what we do. I've never had any problems. We don't really have close neighbors. The people across the street, there's 40 acres there, and the house is all the way on the back side of it. So literally, like, we don't see anybody there. And then next to that is our old pastor, people that we know very well. And we very rarely see them, but when we do, we have good relationship with them. And then next door on this side, Jeremiah's sister owns the house, and it's vacant. It's where Jeremiah's mom lived when she was still alive. And we we pay for that house. And so we have that property for ourselves. And then over on this side and behind us is 1,000 acres that nobody lives on. And so we literally just from all sides, there's nobody. We don't see anybody. We don't come in contact. Now people drive down the road, but we live in a very, sorry, I'm pushing on you. We live in a very private place.
All right. Monique Alley, we will check the email and see what you had messaged us. We'll check it. Which of the ground cherries do you prefer, pineapple or Aunt Molly's? And someone said, I want to design you some shirts. Milo, just email your designs to rootsandrefuge at Yahoo and we'll check them out.
K Doodle. That's awesome. I'm glad you liked it. Napa Chardonnay Blush is one of my favorite tomatoes. It's actually one of the few that I have that's still like pumping them out and is not sick. Thank you. The drone footage is awesome, isn't it? Jeremiah's doing really well. Like he's learning how to drive or fly that really well.
What? Who said that?
About the drone footage.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Art and Bree said, we trust you will make the right decision and move to North Carolina. That's funny.
I don't know.
We would be by some of our sweet friends. Colby Cheese, your devotion baby, want to be close to God. Well, God wants to be close to you, Colby. Although I'm assuming your name is not Colby Cheese. However, it could be Colby. The cheese is probably that one.
I don't know. As a Z. Cheese.
Or move to Tassie, Australia. That would be a 180-degree turn.
Doesn't Ethan do that? He's the one that he should do that. That sounds right.
Tammy Sage, that's funny. Sometimes I'll say something. This is Southern accent problems. I end up opening Siri up a lot, not meaning to, because Siri can't understand a Southern accent.
Well, I do like the Carolinas. I can't lie.
Yeah, the Stivers used to live there.
The Stivers used to live there, huh?
Yeah, and then they moved back to Kentucky. They lived in North Carolina.
Yeah, my gut tells me the Stivers aren't going to stay in Kentucky.
Maybe they will. They'll like it. Leaf rollers. They have any experience with these? I don't think so.
Milo. Sorry, I'm not very good at sounding things out. I never did hooked on phonics. Seriously, I never did.
We did just get hooked on phonics.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn myself so I can teach the kids.
I put some different curriculum stuff in our wish list, and someone bought that for us. Sherry Harshman said, "So could you buy the property behind you?" We have talked to the man next door and asked because he owns it, and he's got his parents living down. There's one house back there, way back away from our house.
I wouldn't buy the property behind me because it's full of trees and it's a slope, so not interested.
But the land next door, where our horses are.
Lease.
He has, and he told us he can't sell it now, and he's leasing it to us, but it was just still really, he wasn't very interested in selling it.
Well, it's not that he's not interested in selling it. He also is aware that is that piece of property is worth the most because it's on the street and it's cleared.
Right.
And so he wants to break it up and let people start building houses,
which
makes him the most money, which is also another reason why I'm like, peace out.
Yeah. Wild Roots Ranch. Do you have any advice on gardening with a newborn? Baby wearing, like wraps and slings, and do it early in the morning or late in the evening. Really, probably early in the morning because you're going to have less bug pressure than like mosquitoes and stuff because you don't want that on the baby. Like, honestly, that was when my little ones were really little. That's when I did a lot of stuff. And also really pace yourself. Like, don't overdo it because there's no joy in being overwhelmed by your garden because it's more than you could rationally care for. And your baby won't be a newborn forever. So, like, honestly, I'm kind of the mind that when you've got a newborn, enjoy the newborn because you can grow a garden on a larger scale the next year. But you could still do a little bit, do it early in the morning. Oh, a super chat. Thank you, Michelle, for that and for those kind words. Yeah, I did not have a big garden when my babies were little. I did very small gardens when my babies were little. You know, a few raised beds was the most I ever had when I had little babies. It's hard. Having a little baby is it's a difficult season. So
Actually, that comment accidentally got deleted.
What?
But I don't think it was a malicious question. Kathy T. Because of the extra punctuation, YouTube held it for review. Anyways, does anyone know any Indiana homestead YouTubers? I actually do not
Does
know
anybody know
anybody
any Indiana
that
homesteading?
does Indiana homesteading and is on YouTube also. So there might be out there, but I don't know them.
Yeah. If anybody knows, please do comment. Because I don't know. Is aluminum leaching an issue when using aluminum sides in a raised bed?
No, I would not be concerned with the aluminum. That's not what's going to break down. It's the zinc. If you're talking about the shiny corrugated stuff, it's the zinc coating that you would be concerned about leaching. And I personally feel like it's minimal because that stuff's supposed to last 10 years. And so would you have some leaching? Probably. How much is it affecting it? From our experience, it seems minimal.
We get asked a lot about the fact that we use tins in our garden beds, and people say, well, are you concerned about the safety issue of that? And this is my take on it. And also this came up whenever we were growing the kiddie pool garden and growing in plastic and stuff like that. Like, people are like, what about the possibility of chemicals leaching? If you had unlimited resources, if I had unlimited resources, I would build full cedar garden beds, 100%. No, like, that's how I would do it, is I would just go on, but that is really expensive. And so my take, and the reason why I show people how to do things cheaper, my take is this: we consume a lot of chemicals, and we're also producing by our consumer choices whenever we're purchasing all of our groceries at the grocery store. When you consider the amount of packaging, the amount of gasoline, the amount, in the production with the equipment, as well as shipping and all of the stuff that goes into that, different manufacturing, just all the energy that goes into producing that food. I am of the mind that using repurposed materials and growing in plastic is the lesser of the two evils. When you're looking at, okay, if I eat the food out of my yard, but I grow it in tin, that's still better than driving into town, buying all of my food there, producing that kind of ecological breakdown that comes with all of that consuming. And then also, there's no telling what that food has encountered. And what it came down to me is I couldn't afford to buy all organically grown produce. So basically what I'm choosing is what I grow in my yard versus conventionally grown produce, which is that going to be, any better than just eating the stuff out of what grew in the tin and the plastic? So for me, it's about weighing out, like, what's the better choice here out of what we've got. And I feel like what you grow in your yard, even if it might not be in the most ideal situation, it's still superior to what you might be able to purchase at the store, if that makes any sense. Oh, thank you, MT Box Designs and Development. I appreciate that so much. Let's go down here. Christina Casey said, I use pallets, cattle panels, plastic bins, and corrugated metal for my raised beds and planters. I've never had an issue, and I consider myself an organic farm. And see, I just feel like when I'm growing, I grow organically. I don't use any sort of chemical pesticides or fertilizers. I'm growing as naturally as I possibly can. And I have to believe that even if there is some leaching in that metal or that plastic, we don't even have, I've done some research, and there's not even a lot of studies that prove that stuff being leached in the soil, the amounts that it might end up actually in the fruit that you're consuming or the part of the plant you're consuming. Like, there's not a lot of research that shows that those levels convey through the plant system and into the fruit and the plant on a large level. So it's all just kind of so up in the air. And I feel like it's got to be superior to buying conventional produce at the store, which is what I would be buying, because I at this point, I would not be able to purchase all organic to feed my big family, or all locally grown. Hey, Lone Star Living, what is up? Elizabeth Lloyd, great to meet you the other day. We had a great meetup in Denver. Just put a video up, told everybody we were going to be there. I think we probably had about 30 people show up, and it was really awesome. We met some amazing people. It was just so good. Heidi, about planting in tires, is there concern about leaching? I have not planted edibles in tires. I have not done that. And that there are, I know there have been some studies about ground up tires on playgrounds being an issue. Like that's not approved to do anymore. They used to do that like in the 80s and 90s. I remember that on playgrounds whenever I was a kid, and they've stopped because of some studies that show that can be an issue and like carcinogens and stuff. And so I have not used ground up tires to grow food in. Being such a porous thing, I didn't really feel comfortable with it. And I think that there are other options that you can do that you don't have to resort to that. But I do have tires hanging on my fence that have flowers in them because I planted in them. Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly Mossman, for the super chat. And that is awesome about your kiddie pool garden. If you're in our Facebook group, I invite you guys to plant pictures of your show pictures of your planted
Don't plant your pictures
of your planted kiddie pool gardens and put them up there. I get comments all the time on that video. People are like, yeah, but does this actually work? And mine at this point, it was in some of my garden tours and stuff, but I never took a lot of pictures of it. So I would love to see pictures of yours. Bye, Sharon Booth. Awesome, Elizabeth. 3 new above ground planters. That's awesome. Emily G said, will you talk about the swampy area across the street? The drone footage was awesome. That's actually a 4-acre pond that is on the property across the street from us. Mm-hmm. And the man who used to live there used to let us go fishing on it, but he recently sold that property. So we have not gone fishing over there recently, but he used to keep it stocked when we would go fishing.
We're still going to make a video with tips for starting a YouTube channel.
Yes. I'm making a note. And we'll try to do that this week. Let me make a note about it. What would, I don't know. I guess I could give some advice that's like, general. That's not just to homesteading or gardening.
No. Someone said, do we get rid of the dirt that the sick tomatoes are in?
Nope.
No.
I am rotating my garden next year. We're taking down all of the trellises and I'm going to move things around. I've grown tomatoes in the same spot for 2 years, but I've rotated and moved them and still ended up with the same disease on my plants by about the same time. And I don't think that it has to do with what's in the soil. I think that it has to do with the humidity of the area, because I've noticed a lot of people, like all the gardens that I drive by right now, their tomatoes are dying. It's just how it is around here, as far as I understand. Video idea how to plant pictures, Narrowway Farms. Bye, Jen Cooper.
I could tell you who won the grow off. It wasn't us, probably.
Yeah. If you want to follow the grow off results and information, make sure you're checking out Gary's Facebook group. And it's Gardening Coast to Coast. He's keeping up with all of that stuff on there. Wasn't me, basically. Oh, wow. I'm way behind on comments.
Milo, you'll be hunting for deer next month. That's September, right?
Yeah, that's
bow season starts, but no, probably not. Also, I don't have any land to hunt on anymore, so
we got rid of our hunting land.
I don't have a lease or whatever they call those, where you get like a conglomerate of people. So I don't know. I hope I can do some hunting, but I don't know if I will be. Sad year.
Little Garden Big Dreams. Is the fact that you are looking to move influencing what you plant, trees, etc.? We are looking to move to a bigger property, so I'm keeping stuff in pots for the moment. Yes.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. We are still planning on putting in a perennial garden, a cottage garden around the greenhouse. I don't know how long. I don't think we're going to be in this house really long enough to really enjoy that, but I felt like God told me to do it, so I'm going to do that. I'm at least going to start on it. I'm just going to start working on that, and I'm not going to put anything else in that spot. There are some things like a friend of mine sent me some fig trees, and I didn't want to put them in the ground here because I want to be able to take them with me whenever that is. And so I just went ahead and put them in pots, but they were tiny. So they kind of needed to go in pots anyway to get more established. We're not buying a bunch of fruit trees. That's not something that we're going to do, but we may go ahead and put in berry bushes.
maybe.
So we're probably going to do some perennial things here, even though
it kind of really just depends on how things move forward over the next few months. We'll know more.
Yeah, we have some things up in the air, which we're not going to talk about yet,
But when those things get decided, we'll know how long we're actually going to be here. And
Yeah.
so then we can plan what to do with the remaining time.
Yeah.
Why don't we have Patreon? Why don't you answer that question? Because I actually don't know.
The reason why I've not made a Patreon, Grandy's Garden, is because from what I understand, Patreon, what you do is you offer free, or you offer content to people who support your channel, essentially. And when I started this, my goal was to make all of the content that we produce free for people. Basically, I'm kind of at my limit on making as much content as I make now, because most weeks we post 5 videos a week plus go live. And that is really the extent of what I can do. Sometimes that's hard. And so in order for me to do Patreon for the people who do pay, I would have to produce less content for free. And for me, I didn't want to do that. I wanted what I could produce to be free. Now, if I ever ended up with the capacity to do more than I'm doing now, maybe I would do something like that. I don't dislike Patreon, and more power to all the people who do it. I think that it's a really great way for people to support channels, to help them do what they do. But we've been so supported. I mean, stuff like super chats and people purchasing off of our Amazon wish list or using our affiliate links, that helps us, because that gives us, Amazon gives us money when people shop off of our affiliate links. And it doesn't even cost them any extra. So there are ways for people to support us if they want to. And I just was really, really poor for a long time. And there was no way, if I loved a content creator, that I would have been able to financially support them. I would have supported them with my prayers for sure. And I did, but I couldn't sign up for stuff like that. And so I don't ever want to exclude anybody from what I'm able to make. So that's why I don't. Oh my goodness, Dawn, you learned a lesson about greed and just having to pick that last berry and broke your wrist as a result. Oh my goodness, that is awful. It is a real thing though. When you start berry picking and it's just like, just one more, just one more, just one more. And whenever you see those big fat ones right out of reach, it's like, just one more, just one more.
Naturally, North Carolina. We do not.
Nope.
This is what we do.
Tangela Williams said, auction the pink garden door when you move. Hey, Bree. She's like, move down to Hot Springs. She's the one who came out.
I know
Red.
she
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
She's in the band.
Yeah.
Which is actually named Hooker Red, is it not?
I think so, yeah.
I would hope that your mom didn't. I think your name was Breeze, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Your mom named you Hooker.
Blue Harmony Farm said, we need greenhouse advice, Maya.
Depends on what you're trying to do. What's your purpose behind the greenhouse?
Sherry Nations. I got 7 acres surrounded by 12,000 acres of Daniel Boone National Forest to hunt on. Man, that's a sweet. That's a sweet setup. Yeah, single dad homestead. He's talking to Art and Bree, but he's pretty close out there where you guys are. Solidarity to everyone else.
They stepped in goose poop trying to find a signal to get on the stand alive.
What is the correct pronunciation? Okay, so I say Dr. Witchies. That's not right. However, I have been told a couple of different things. Now, I think the right one is Dr. Weish. I think that's what it's supposed to be. However, I've been corrected by multiple people who say, no, it's not that, it's this. And it's different things. Someone told me it's supposed to be wish. Weish. Some people said Weish and some people said Weich. And so I think it's Weish. The reason I think that is that someone told me that they are from the hometown of the man who actually made the tomato and it was white. But I mean, that was a YouTube comment. So I don't know 100% if that's correct.
Blue Harmony Farm. We have a huge RV carport and want to turn it into a greenhouse. I would either do a salvaged window greenhouse or the polycarbonate panels I put on top of the window greenhouse. I would do that all the way around. And then frame in the door, all that stuff. That's what I would do. Essentially, the carport just basically gives you the framing, which I did, and so you could build it the same way. Yeah, why don't you just email us some pictures, and then I can email you back some suggestions.
You
were literally texting without looking at the screen.
I'm just skilled like that. Hey, Marie 6. Charleston, South.
I think Art and Bree are both on.
Oh, they're doing like we do.
Other. I think Art is the one who stepped in poop, and I think Bree's inside. Am I right? Oh, there's Sutherland.
Oh, hey, Sutherland.
Email is rootsandrefuge@yahoo.
So is it Lorraine or Jason?
It's usually Jason.
Well, Lorraine made a post on Facebook that was really, really good. And she was just talking about, like, basically the exposure of having a YouTube channel and, like, having to learn how to walk
Bree stepped in. All right, no more talking about the poop anymore. Let's move on. There's other things to discuss.
Blue Harmony Farm said thanks. Oh, thanks, Kathy Bull. We love the new shirts
Jason
too.
From Sutherland.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I liked Lorraine's post. It was really good. Got to put the kiddos in bed. All right, Stiver. See you later. You guys should come check out some Miami gardens this winter. Tropical fruit and warm weather. That sounds really nice, Danny.
I've never been to Miami.
Where's my alpaca blanket? Well, Benjamin's waiting on his 4 alpaca blankets first.
You guys are all going to get in line behind Ben.
Aw, thank you, April. Second Life Farms. She's P.S. Mentor again. You're the sweetest. April and I met through YouTube, and she actually flew down from Washington, or from Oregon,
brought her
mom, and they came and visited with us and had a really good time. Are there seeds that are important to soak before using for the fall garden? Ivy, if I'm being entirely honest, I never soak seeds before sowing. I know they say beans and peas. Now, there are some things that I think would have done better. Like I did those blue butterfly peas, the little blue flowers from Baker Creek this year, and they had a really hard time germinating. I think they would have done better had I soaked them. So I don't ever soak any, but we also live in an area that gets 50 inches of rain a year. So we're not hurting for moisture. And I think that might be why I can get away with not doing that. So I'm really probably not the best person to ask about that. What does Maya think about Jess's devotional? Did you watch that devotional? I don't think you did.
I don't think I've seen the most recent one, but I know what you talked about.
He's heard all that stuff.
I mean, anything that she's ever released in a devotional, something for a while. So I know about the garden. Also, something that was really just hitting me is we're actually going to get to hang out with Art and Bree and so I'm actually really looking forward to that.
What? You didn't stop? Why didn't you talking?
Because I'm listening to myself on a...
Oh, yeah, my mom just came in. You can come say hi. Come on. Hello. Now come over here. I'll say hi to Toby. Hello. He was hanging outside in the garden with Grandma, and they just came in. We were talking about the devotional. Yeah, Jeremiah actually doesn't watch a lot of our videos unless I'm like, hey, you got to see this. Like, he'll watch them later, like once it's looking back on him. But the devotional stuff, like, he's kind of my sounding board for that stuff. So if I'm talking about it on a devotional, he's probably already heard it a handful of times. Or we're just, I share all that stuff. That's kind of what we talk about.
But what I was saying is that we were going to get to hang out with Sutherland and Arden Bree in California.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited about seeing all our friends out there. It's going to be awesome. Mo homesteading, yeah, we definitely want a larger property. And we like where we are as far as like the location. I mean, Arkansas is about as good as it gets as far as like homesteading goes. Like, freedoms, homeschooling, all that stuff. It's a really great place to live. But we live right on the street, and we're limited because we actually only own 4 acres here. So we actually are kind of outgrown this property already, but we have some leases around us, but it's not guaranteed. So that's why we're talking about moving at some point. Yes, we will be at Homesteaders of America. So we'll be at the Heirloom Festival, Baker Creek's Heirloom Expo in Santa Rosa, California, the second week of September. And then we will be at HOA the second week of October. So we have both of those things coming up, and we're so excited about that. I tried to text Daniel because I was going to FaceTime him because some people were asking. He is fine. He has not been doing YouTube as much. He's been working a lot, but he's doing fine. But I was going to have him hop on, but he hasn't answered me back. I think he may be leading worship somewhere right now. Yeah, we get a good deal of rain here. How is the healthy eating going?
Got a little bit off. Not really bad. Didn't go crazy. Like, we didn't have any extra sugar or anything, but being in Denver and being busy, like not getting out of the concert till late and different things like that, like, we had to compromise a little bit. But we didn't go crazy. Like, I didn't start eating a bunch of bread. I think, honestly, the thing I ate that I probably should have stayed away from more was, like, the rice and the sushi and the MSG. I'm sure it was in there.
Yeah.
That was not fun for my stomach.
I ate pretty well in Denver, actually. I lost weight while I was there. However, I came home, and after flying all morning yesterday and just being completely exhausted, and then I went to my niece's birthday party last night, and I ate a piece of pizza last night, and oh my goodness, I was like, I wished I had not done it. But whenever you eat really healthy, and then you eat a little bit not healthy, you realize just absolutely how bad it is for you, by how bad you feel afterwards.
Yeah, it wasn't the raw fish, or really, I probably wasn't even that much the rice, because, I mean, rice wouldn't have been that bad.
I think it was probably
Asian food
MSG.
always has MSG in it.
Yeah.
It's just like a staple of the way they cook, and so, at least in this country.
Yeah.
But so that really that messed with my stomach a lot. I should have not. But on the flip side, my family was like eating pizza every night, and they had like tons of little Debbie's and stuff. And
so much junk. We went to Whole Foods the first night we got there and went grocery shopping. So I didn't eat any of that. So for the most part, we ate pretty well while we were there.
Now at the Whole Foods, I did discover the Asian Cajun was good, and everything there was mostly on par. The wonton chips were probably not gluten or free. You know what I'm saying? What is wonton?
Yeah, we chose
that on
Asian
purpose.
Was
though.
Really good,
and that actually didn't even mess with my stomach at all.
Yeah,
because I felt like the ingredients were high quality.
Yes, I'm drinking iced coffee. The creamer I've been using is called Nut Pods. It's not dairy.
But yeah, I love sushi. I do, and so I got to eat that a couple of good times. It was good.
Your next devotional should be all guitar. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Shalimar. That's sweet. Thank you. Jeremiah actually bought me a new guitar. It'll be here on Tuesday. I'm really, really excited. My guitar that I've been playing on is one that I got off of Facebook Marketplace, and it's a nice guitar. And actually, I got it off of Facebook Marketplace in Alabama. I had Daniel go pick it up and bring it here the next time they came, and I sent him money on PayPal. But Benjamin put his knee through it several months ago. It's got a big, it's broken, and the head started to come off. So I've just had to be really ginger with it, and he bought me a new guitar.
Lisa, I have done some videos about the well and the different things that we've done. They were kind of mixed into the vlogs. I didn't make a specific video about it, but there's some vlogs over the last few weeks that I went over what we were doing in the well and what we fixed.
Karen Romero said, I've lost 60 pounds going vegetarian. I haven't been eating meat.
It says specific diet. I don't know what I'm not really doing a whole 30.
No.
I've cut out all processed sugar. I've cut out all carbs as far as gluten.
He's cut out all like refined flours and like refined grains. Like, so if he's eating like rice, it's brown rice. He's not really nothing real starchy. So no like white potatoes.
A lot of salads, fish. Chicken.
He's still eating meat. Really kind of easy on the dairy for the most part.
A little bit of cheese. I don't drink milk, and I have been eating cereals, so I have basically ruled out most of my milk consumption. Well, you drink milk and lattes. Oh yeah, okay. I haven't cut out my lattes, but
basically his goal has been eating like no processed food, and really just sticking to like real food that's not processed. I've done a little bit more than that. Because I've just recognized like eating meat causing some issues. And so I have not been eating meat for the most part. I've eaten just a little bit of fish, but that's it. And then pretty much everything that he said as well, except for I've been eating.
I don't know if that's supposed to be a jab or not, but someone said that Jess wears the pants in this relationship. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's not true. That's not true. I am honored and respected by Jeremiah, and he listens to my input on stuff. But sometimes the real truth is when it comes down to it, and we disagree on something, like he gets the final say.
Put it this way. Let's just be honest. Let's just be transparent. I listen to your input and wisdom unless it has to do with my own behavior, and then for some reason I get super defensive, and I'm trying not to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to like talk about other external stuff. But when you want to start talking about yourself as people, like we have a hard time talking about ourselves or bringing correction to yourself. It's like, worry about yourself. But that's not the heart of God.
No, it's not.
Jessica does not wear the pants in this. If anything, we're sharing the pants. Which is fine with me because I love being in pants with you.
What prompted the dietary changes? A number of things. Okay, so Jeremiah's mom got diagnosed with colon cancer last September, the beginning of September. And that was like a huge wake-up call for us. Now, we grow food because we are passionate about real food, and we recognize that our food system is broken. We logically recognize the fact that we shouldn't be addicted to sugar, and that people largely are unhealthy and having, heart disease and diabetes and all these different things because of diet. Like, our country is very, very unhealthy, and largely I believe that we are being poisoned by our food sources in a lot of ways, and we're too addicted to care. And that is my stance on it. I feel that way. However, I've been addicted to care. So like, I can't, that's not coming from like a hypocritical place. I'm saying, hey, this is a problem that I'm very much involved in. And as it was the move to grow our own food, is recognizing that. When his mom got diagnosed with cancer, it was like, okay, we got to do something different. So we like gung-ho this thing. We're juicing every day. We're cleansing. We're like getting rid of all of the junk in our house. And then she died. And it was like, our household with all his siblings here, we ate like 28 dozen donuts in like 2 days. People would call and be like, what can I do? And we were like, bring Krispy Kreme, because we were grieving. And so like, we ate so much bad stuff, and even acknowledging the fact like, this is bad for us, but this is comforting because it's sugary and it's fatty and it makes me feel better, and we're eating our feelings here. That really derailed us. And since then it's been a matter of like, okay, like, we eat a lot of the garden food. We eat a lot of this stuff, but we still get stuck in ruts of convenience. And I don't know, this is something we've known that we needed to do for a while. But like about a month or so ago, we both were just like, okay, let's really look at the lives or the areas of our life where God has convicted us, and let's handle these things. Because the fact of the matter is, I want everything that God has for me in this life, and I want to be able to do everything that he has designed for me to be able to do. And that requires just being in alignment and dealing with the stuff that needs to be dealt with. And so, yeah, we just basically said, we're going to start doing this. And And but the first step has been cut out everything processed, and we've read a lot about Whole30 and keto, and
I'm not going to stop eating meat.
Yeah, he has no intention on stopping eating
It's just
meat.
not going to happen.
I actually don't have a big attachment to meat, and I've spent large portions of my life as a vegetarian. So to me, I tend to feel better. But I've also read some different things about how some different people respond to different diets. So I don't know. I mean, like, we're just kind of trying to figure out what we want to do. But the thing that we know that we want to do is not be addicted to think, and have habits in place that are destructive towards us. Thank you for that super chat, Chris. It's going well. Thank you.
And honestly, like, there's a lot. If you were to look at the current, just all the different systems, the pillars of our society, healthcare, what connected to that is health insurance, pharmaceuticals, all the medications that really aren't really fixing anything. Like, all of that to me is standing on food. And I feel like as we educate people on food, that a lot of these other places that need to be, what's the right word? Renovated?
I don't know. I was reading comments. I'm sorry.
Like overhauled, maybe restored back to proper function. Mm-hmm. I think they all get addressed with addressing the food.
And also, I understand that type 1 diabetes is not
but my mom
due
didn't
to
have
choices.
Type 1.
But
she had type 2.
Yeah.
And she controlled it with diet.
Right. Like, type 1 is absolutely, and there are a lot of things that people deal with health-wise that are, they have nothing to do with choices. But to be entirely honest, there are a lot of things that people deal with health-wise. Like, one of the things like Jeremiah's been dealing with is he's got really, really bad varicose veins in his leg from where he had his tumors, and he's had those operations, and he's missing so much of his muscle mass. And, we've been treating this with essential oils, and it gets some better. And, we do these things to treat it. But he said, I wouldn't be dealing with this if I wasn't carrying around extra weight. And it's true. Like, I have some health issues that I deal with that I know are dietary. Like I grew up having issues with my urinary tract, and largely that's been healed and like medically documented healing. But the thing is that I can still get sick when I drink too much caffeine and I don't drink enough water. And I just don't want to get into the habit of medically treating things that could be treated with food. Food is the very best and should be our first medicine. And then let's save actual medicine for what can't be treated with that. And I don't say that in a condemning sense. And I feel like it's really hard sometimes to receive some, to hear that if you're feeling defensive, if you feel like, oh, maybe, or was she condemning me? No, I'm not condemning you. I'm saying, hey, I have to make these changes because I recognize this is an issue in my life. I'm not coming here like super homesteading YouTuber, look at me with my garden and I eat super healthy and shame on you for not. I'm saying I have a problem whenever I am hungry and it comes to driving by fast food windows. That can be a problem for me in the past. And as soon as I break the habit and the addiction and I say black and white, I'm not eating that stuff. I mean, it takes like a month before I go, my goodness, I felt awful. I'm falling asleep at 3:00 every afternoon. I'm having these health issues. I can't fit into my clothes. And I recognize that. And I just don't want to live that way. I want to live to the fullest that I can in my life. And so that's why I'm going to address those things.
Honestly, like, as far as like the meat and stuff is, that's where we're trying to grow it ourselves so we can control what's being fed, what's being medicated, different things like that. Because I'm not willing to give up meat, but I'm telling you, eating farm-raised meat, ethically raised, is, what I'm saying, it's not as bad for you, or bad for you at all, really. Because I'm also, you sometimes it's about what you're eating, and then it's about how much are you eating, and then it's about when are you eating. So we're doing
all of those things.
I'm not just not eating this other stuff. I'm also controlling my portion sizes. So like when I do eat bacon or sausage, I'm not eating 6, 7, 8 pieces. I'm eating 2 pieces with 4 eggs, with no toast, and fruit. Right. And then I'm also doing what's called intermittent fasting. So I start eating at 10. I'm done eating by 8 in the afternoon or the evening. And then I'm not eating again until 10. So is it 14-hour off?
Math is hard.
16 hours. It's 16 hours off,
yeah.
8 hours on. And that's kept me from eating at night, which also, if you eat at night, your body doesn't have time to process it. So when you go to sleep, it just immediately starts turning that into fat because it's in shutdown mode and repair mode and doesn't want to digest. And so that helps you get fatter. And I was really bad about eating late at night. I wanted to be full before going to bed. And so I've stopped doing that. This is also, I'm consuming a ton more water, which I always drink water, but not only water. So I'm drinking pretty much nothing but water and having a couple of handcrafted lattes a day. Also not going to give up. And so honestly, I'll be honest, like it's honestly, to me, this for me feels a lot like video games. Okay, when I was really heavy into video games, I could not imagine not playing the next game that came out. Like, I'm going to miss out on the next adventure, the next fun thing, the next big thing. And when eventually I finally did give up video games and really not play anymore, I realized that I was fine. Like, it's crazy. You think, I can't not do this because I'll die. Like, it will kill me to do this. And then you just stop one day when you finally get past the mental block and you're like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. Like, I'm okay. And for me, getting past the whole not eating bread. I love bread. I love pasta. I love eating these things. I love ice cream. I love sweets. I love, I drank a ton of soda, all this stuff. And I'm thinking like, I don't really want to give up this stuff. And I don't think I'll ever be able to get over it because I enjoy eating it. But then when I finally got my head around it and stopped and actually made the choices to stop, I'm realizing that I don't really miss it as much as I thought I would.
Someone, I think it was Amy, asked, how do you curb the craving for sugar?
Sugars.
How I do it, and I don't know that this is like the recommended way, but when I'm first coming off sugar, like refined sugar, I will feed that sugar monster. Now, some people go cold turkey and they just like Whole30 tells you go cold turkey and says you can do this. If people can quit smoking, you can stop eating sugar. And like, what I do, because I still have to function, when I have done cold turkey off of sugar and even sugar and caffeine, I get horrible headaches, like to the point of not being able to function for like 2 days. And I don't really have that luxury in my life right now. So usually what I'll do is I'll eat like a spoonful of honey a couple times throughout the day. I'll make fruit smoothies with like a lot of fruit in them. So you're getting a lot of those natural sugars, and there's still like a detox, but it's not as bad. And then I'll eventually kind of cut down the honey and I'll cut back on that fruit. So I'm eating a more balanced diet. That's a good question.
Naturally, North Carolina says, are our kids eating the same way? They're not currently eating the exact same way.
We've been compromising for them for the sake of convenience.
Well, also, I think we need to transition them.
Yeah, but we decided this week that they're going
to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And honestly, because I don't want to set them up to be my age and still addicted to the same crap.
Yeah.
Someone said...
That's awesome, Alicia. Congratulations on quitting smoking.
Someone asked about juice. I don't get crazy with it. I keep it simple. I know what works. If you watch that documentary, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, I basically go off of their recipe.
Are they talking about
juicing? Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's a head of kale. This is for me, and I'll drink all of it by myself most of the time. A head of kale. Is it 1 cucumber?
A cucumber.
1 good-sized cucumber, 3 carrots, 3 stalks of celery, 3 apples, and a lemon.
It's not 3 apples. It's usually like 2. It depends on how. Sometimes
that's
tiny apples. So
I'm thinking smaller apples. So 3 apples, small ones, 2 bigger ones. You juice that out, drink it, just get it in your stomach. Jessica sips it. I don't know how she does that. It does not taste that good.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's pretty bad. I don't want you guys to be misled. Like, just get it in your stomach. The benefits of it. Why? Okay. Juice, which Art Bree just left. See you guys later. We'll see you in California. The benefits of juice is that it has no fiber and there's nothing that has to be digested at all. So like we drink caffeine and sugar to get energy, but I'm telling you right now, drink 30, 40 ounces of fresh juice and it's like hitting 5-hour energies and it doesn't have a hangover at the end.
Yeah.
Here's what happens though, is you drink the juice, it gets directly assimilated into your blood. It basically just bypasses your entire digestive system. It has no fiber and it's just straight, and it's good nutrients, like high quality calories. Body assimilates it, you have energy. When you have energy, your body does not have to digest anything immediately. And I'm telling you, be prepared. Do not have to travel. Like when we left for Denver, I said, I'm not drinking juice because I know what's about to happen because I'm still out processing. Okay, that's just the truth. I'm giving you the straight up. Drink the juice, and immediately your body's like, okay, I've got energy. Because here's how the thing works. Body says eat because it needs energy to keep functioning with what you're doing. You give it juice, it says, okay, I've got at least 7 hours worth of energy right here. Okay, so immediately it's like, well, if I don't have to digest to keep you alive, then I'm going to start out processing everything I can until I need to start digesting again for energy.
That's why fast food makes you so sluggish, because it doesn't have nutrition. And the reason why people end up being like really sluggish, and you end up with bloating, and you end up with like cramping and all of that stuff,
heartburn.
Is your body's trying to digest the heck out of that food to
keep going,
you.
But it has very little nutrition.
And so it slows your digestion down, and that's why you eat fast food and feel like you've got a rock in your gut, because your body's
or
not
if you eat Taco Bell, it's the very opposite thing. It's like, this just sucks. Get it out now. I always tell people the best thing to do with Taco Bell is just throw it straight in the toilet, because it's getting there in a few minutes anyways.
This is so tacky.
So anyways, so seriously.
I'm so embarrassed.
So, all right. So you drink the juice, and I'm telling you, especially if you do a 3-day or 4-day juice fast, your body just starts out processing toxins, fat toxins, because essentially a lot of times you build fat because your body's
keep talking.
Your body stores toxins with fat around it, right, to protect you. It surrounds it with fat because it's like an insulator. And so whenever you start out processing, it also helps you break down fat, because basically your body's like, I've got 8 hours to dump everything I can dump. And so it starts just letting it go. Because the thing is, the reason why it does that is because if it has to digest to keep you alive, it can't out-process something that it's been waiting to get rid of. And so the reason why I cleanse is so important is because it gives you an opportunity to get rid of stuff that your body's been waiting to get rid of. And so they say to do 7 days. I have a hard time doing 7 straight. And I'm talking, it says 7 days of nothing but juice, which is doable.
Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead is a documentary that we learned about this from, and I posted the juicer we use. He did, was it 40?
No, 21.
21. Okay.
21 straight days.
Eating nothing
but juice, which you can do.
Because you have the nutrition that you need.
But it's not sustainable. That's also
true. You can't live like that. You
can't live on it because you're not getting minerals, and you're not getting other stuff that vegetables, like eating the fiber. So you can't just live only on juice, is what they're saying, which I agree. Also, when I actually did a 21-day juice fast back like a few years ago and dropped like 50 or 60 pounds in like a month. But I missed chewing stuff. Like, I just wanted my mouth to hit something hard because I was so tired of drinking liquid. But I'm saying is that when you do the juice cleanse, I try to do between 5 to 7 days of nothing but juice, and then you pound water, because water is also required for out processing of toxins. Like your body uses water to flush your system, and so. Another thing is that water craves food hunger. So, for example, when I'm doing my intermittent fasting, if like it gets to 8 o'clock and I've eaten dinner and I'm still very hungry and my body's like, I'm so hungry, I need more food, I will literally just drink a quart.
Stand there and drink like
I'll drink a quart of water, and I'll down a quart of water many times as I need to until my body says stop. Because if it's like, I'm hungry, but water, it says, I'm still hungry, I say water. It says, I'm still hungry, I say water. It says, okay, I'm done. Like, no more, please. Don't put any more water in. And then I go to bed. And then, honestly, what that also does is now my body has a full tank of water, and I'm going to bed, which is repair mode, right? And so then my body just starts out processing toxins, flushing everything, flushing my kidneys. And then I wake up and feel way better and have dropped weight. And so all of this is working together.
First, salmon player. Yeah, I definitely don't advise like not eating. I mean, like the main thing is really and I'm sorry to hear about your ex-girlfriend. That's really sad. And like,
I didn't see it. What is it?
It was sharing about how she basically was, she sounds like she had an eating disorder, and it was obviously very affecting their relationship. She ended up passing away of a heart attack years later. But like that, absolutely. I mean, you have to feed your body. And the thing is that we really are addressing in ourselves. I mean, we believe like God made food delicious and wants us to enjoy it. We love food. Like we love food. I love good food. A good meal is one of the most beautiful pleasures that we get to experience in our life as humans. However, like, it's so easy to have the wrong mindset of food and crave it for comfort and crave it for all the wrong reasons, or just have habits or addictions. And so for us, what we really are doing by like making some black and white rules is saying, okay, food is first and foremost fuel, and we can get to a point where we can enjoy it. But really, let's be real. Like, when you're pulling through a fast food window for the 6th time in a week, and your digestion is whack and your gut is whack and you are unhealthy and you're exhausted in the afternoon and your skin sucks and your hair is brittle and you're dealing with your weight and you're dealing with reflux and you're dealing with all of that stuff, that's not enjoyment. That food is not enjoyable. I can tell you that we've had some really enjoyable experiences just in this time of eating healthy. And we've gone back and forth with this in our life and our marriage together. This is something that's convicting to us. It's been one of the hardest things for us to really overcome. But I enjoy, there's not much more that I enjoy to eat than a tomato that I grew. Take some good salt down to the garden, slice a tomato open, put that salt on it, eat it. That is one of the most enjoyable eating experiences. I don't need to eat something that's bad for me to experience that. And is juicing good for gut health or no? Sherry, I don't think that juicing constantly would be good for gut health. I think that doing a cleanse is probably okay.
I'm not advocating juicing all the time. I think, and honestly, that's why I don't necessarily, unless you were like, the thing is the guy in the Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead was like morbidly, like he was on the brink of like dying. Like all of his stuff was going crazy on all this medication to stay alive. And he went 21 days because honestly, I think his life depended on it. I'm not there. And so I don't do 21 days.
Our main thing is we'll drink juice first thing in the morning because it gives us so much energy in the day. And it's like a supplement.
Like right now, I haven't done a cleanse recently because I don't know that it's necessarily necessary. I may try to do it after the traveling's done because I don't want to do it in the middle. But what we're doing right now is juicing in the morning. And the other thing is that for the intermittent fasting, that starts at 10, right? When I can start eating. But if juice doesn't count. So you could juice it and drink it at 8, and it's still, your body's not digesting anything. And so therefore your intermittent fasting is still in play. And then you get a ton of energy. So we juice in the morning, and then we eat healthy until 8, and then we turn it off. And drink lots of water. And I am saying everyone's got find out what's going to work for you. I'm just telling you what we do. Yeah. Like, I know that I drink a ton of water. I actually don't have bladder issues. I can hold a gallon of urine all night, and it's fine. Jessica, she gets like an 8-ounce cup, and it's like, gotta go. And so she doesn't pound water at night. I can. It's not gonna wake me up.
Yeah. And so, like, here's the thing. We're not even eating the same way right now. Jeremiah has no intention to stop eating meat. I'm not eating meat. Like, we don't have to do the same thing. We're really just trying to find what works best for us and what works best for our family. Naturally, and see, I'm going to look into it. I have not done the doTERRA cleanse. We do take doTERRA supplements, and they do absolutely. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it, but like we are doing the supplements, and we've been doing those for a couple months, and honestly, they've helped a lot, and I can tell a major difference when we take those versus when
also
we
don't have heartburn anymore. I don't have any issues sleeping. I'm getting better rest. Like, I have more energy during the day. There's just a ton of stuff.
General Trusty, juice does technically break an intermittent fast, but it does not start digestion because it does have an insulin response. So technically it does break it. Like true intermittent fasting, juice does break an intermittent fast. However, it doesn't start your digestion. But anyway, you are right. But basically, we did some research and we decided that's what we're going to do. But we generally juice, and then the intermittent, like, we don't juice early in the morning. It's like late. It's just black coffee first thing in the morning because that doesn't have an insulin response. Dr. Berg. I need to watch Dr. Berg stuff. I actually watched some of Dr. Berg's stuff last year whenever Jana was first diagnosed. And so I definitely need to do that. I need to take a note. I take notes during our things of all the things that you guys remind me of. Try Best Juicer is the best ever. Pulp is dry. I'm going to look into it. We have the Breville right now. We've had it for, how long have we had that juicer? Before
my
Ezra
first
was
juice
born.
cleanse, so like
It was
7 years, 6 years.
6 years, and it's still holding strong. We've used it a lot.
I haven't had to replace any parts.
Yeah, we haven't had to replace any parts. So, one Emmy Shu said, yes, God wants us to eat and enjoy it, but it should be real food only. One ingredient, unprocessed food, has made a huge difference in my health. You know, my thing is with like when it comes to like moderation.
Do they have one that is hand crank? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing that is truly like, hey Ezra, you want to come say hi? One.
Just the movies downstairs in the box.
We're not.
Put those down there.
Yes.
Yes.
There's some kids movies down there.
Yeah, we just found them. We just found all.
That's fine.
Put them in there.
Like the first.
Okay. So one.
Mr. Webb.
Yeah, you can get it.
Oh,
One. Sorry, they were looking for a movie and were wondering if something was allowed to get. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, with eating in moderation.
yes, when our farm, also want to say about juicing with our own stuff. Yes, when
So
our
much
farm is
better.
producing stuff, we use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can do other juices. He likes to keep his the same, but I'd like to start. I don't know. We've done them with like rainbow chard and some different things like that. And he just prefers
I
that.
like to keep it simple. I'm not drinking it for the flavor. I just need to get it into my system. And it's essentially, if you're a Marine, you know what I'm talking about. It's a canteen drill for me. I just
He literally
open it up
just
and get it down.
chugs it.
And I don't enjoy it, but I'll do it.
I don't know. It basically some things that I'm cooking for myself when I'm not eating meat and cooking for your family. I'll share some things, Gabrielle. I keep things very simple. The way I cook, I keep it very simple. Roasting veggies. I'm eating like brown rice, not a lot of that, and primarily like roasting veggies, sauteing them, or eating them raw. And same thing with fruit, eating it raw or smoothies, not eating a ton of that, and then a lot of salads. Okay. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, peace of heaven, Farmstead.
We're ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think these boys are about ready for bed.
Baby gone.
Sorry. Oh, no, Karen. I think talking about like how we're eating healthy and all of that stuff, I think it's really important. And
I think it's as important because honestly, someone made a comment on a video. Hey guys, go get ready for bed. Pajamas and pull-ups.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe go get ready for bed.
No, I haven't grown the Sikkim cucumber, but my friends Jill and Nate did, and it's delicious.
But anyway, someone made a genuine comment, and it could come across ugly, but sometimes we look at stuff and we don't just immediately write them off because they're being direct. Like even if their intention was ugly, is there truth? Okay, let me put it this way. You're going to get a ton of critics. And if you're doing YouTube, you're going to know that for sure because you're going to figure it out. There's people out there going to tell you, do this, do that, whatever. And you've got to decide what you're going to do. And so one of the things we try to do is receive what they're saying and say, is there any truth in what they're saying that you can apply? And then apply it. You don't have to receive all the negative and ugly stuff that they add to it, but you can apply what is actually true. So for example, someone made a comment on a video and said, I've noticed in these homesteading YouTube community that there's a ton of people who are overweight. And I think it was on our video.
And they were talking about
and they were like,
us
and it doesn't make
too.
any sense because if you're growing all your own food and stuff, like why, like you wouldn't be that way if you were eating what you're producing.
And it was rude.
And it was
a rude thing to
but
say.
we took that and we're like, well,
We really feel called to
that's
teach people to grow
really
their own food.
actually kind of true for
And
us.
we're not really fully eating this. And we wouldn't be struggling with all this stuff if we were really eating this. And so we were like,
so we applied
dang.
it. That was really one of the motivator things. Like it was like, wow, that kind of struck me.
I would love that, Chris. You are welcome to come and stay. It's hard to do YouTube. Yes, it is hard. It's hard to face that criticism. It takes a really strong rooting in your identity to put yourself out there. until, sorry, we have kids crawling on the
Get
table.
down. Go back to the room.
It
Come
takes
on.
a strong like rooting in your identity to not be swayed by, the opinions of people. And it's been very growing for us. But just with a thing like that, I mean, we've had a lot of comments about our weight, and it is rude. I'm not saying that those people have any right to say that. They don't. It's rude. However, the truth of the matter is we already knew that we weren't eating right, and we already knew that we didn't feel good, and we already knew that this was something that God was talking to us about. And so it is hard whenever somebody comes, but like people will come to me, I'll get troll comments and be like, "You're so ugly." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm the masterpiece of God. Thank you very much." Like, that doesn't bother me. It does not bother me when people call me ugly, because that's one, just rude, and it's not true. Because God doesn't say that about me. But when somebody comes and they're like, "You're obviously not eating all the way out of your garden," and I'm like, dang, because I'm not, and God told me to. And so I'm just like, rude.
But I mean, we could have just been like, well, you guys are being ugly, and not applied it. Because I'll be honest, like, the truth is that there is a health crisis, which is a food crisis in this nation. And part of what we're doing is wanting to educate and inspire people to get healthier by eating whole food.
And I do want to say this too. Like Bark and Holler Homestead said, I'm overweight, and that's what scares me about posting them. Here's the thing. Okay. And I hope that she's not on here anymore, and I hope that doesn't like upset her. But one time, I was talking to Jen from Stivers Homestead, and she was like, she said something about those. We were talking about the ugly comments you get on YouTube, and she was like, "Well, I get called fat once a day." She's like, "But it doesn't bother me." She's like, "I know I need to lose weight." And she was like, "Tell me something I don't know," and it was just kind of this thing. And I think about like, what if they had not taken the step to share? Because like, what if we hadn't taken the step to share because of the things that we wanted to change in our life? Like, I think being willing to put yourself out there, even though you're not perfect, and just be honest about that and share the fact, hey, we're a work in progress here. Like, how many people are going to be encouraged about your reality, rather than if they only saw people who were at the ideal place in all things? One, I don't think there are very many people who are like that, but I want to present the reality of our situation. I want to present our struggles. I want to sit here and tell you, when we're talking about losing weight, the reason why I'm not a lot more overweight than I am. A lot of people look at me and they're like, you're not super overweight. I'm not super overweight, but have you seen my mom? She's a size 0. Like, she's tiny. Like, I come honestly genetically by so I don't get super overweight. However, whenever I'm 25 pounds overweight, I still don't want to say, well, at least I'm not as overweight as other people, so I'm just going to keep eating bad stuff, because skinny people can have heart attacks when they're 52. Like, skinny people can have health issues when they're young and all of that. So what I'm saying is start sharing, because you have value, even if you're not exactly where you want to be, even if you're not perfect. And there may be even value in that part of your journey for you to share with other people. And you get over it. And like, for us, I feel like this is going to be part of our journey. I look forward to the fact that somebody's going to be able to look back and say, oh, wow, look, they lost weight. They look a lot healthier now than they did then. Like, I'm looking forward to that being part of our journey, and we can share with people. And they say, well, what did you do? We're going to say, we stopped eating processed stuff, and we confronted the places where we were addicted to things that felt good, but they weren't good for us.
I mean, honestly, like, I'm like, we no longer have an addiction to sugar, which is a very strong addiction. We are still consuming caffeine, which is also an addiction. And I know a lot of times, especially in the church, they want to point fingers at, we say this thing like all sin is equal in the eyes of God, but then we also label sin as worse or, not as bad. White lie isn't as bad as this, and, adultery isn't as bad as that. And the thing is that...
But all of those things will hold you in shame, which
right.
is really what God wants you out of.
And so I don't, what I'm saying, like addiction is addiction. If you're addicted to sugar, Like, you're an addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's
And it'll
something
hold you back.
it'll hold you back. Like, and the thing is, like, I have this conversation about my mom with, and people ask me about it and all that. And my perspective is this, do I believe that my mom could have had more time on earth? I do. Her dad actually was diagnosed with colon cancer and died at 60. Like,
And
my
then
mom
his
was diagnosed with colon cancer and died at 60. Like, what does that tell you? Like, my mom, one, if she had the knowledge or whatever happened with my mom's life and made her influence her choices, she made her choices. Okay, which the health choices, she always battled weight, always battled eating junk food, all that stuff. The last 10 years of her life, she really got that on handled. But then the other thing is she never went to the doctor to get checked to see if it was the genetic colon cancer had started, like she should have. She should have been checked at 40, and she never went and got checked. And so 20 years later, she's dealing with the exact same scenario that her dad dealt with. And it's like, my mom could have done things differently. But I think God took the decisions she made, because we have free will, and he did the best that he could with the time that he or she gave him with her decisions. And so I'm really just wanting to inspire people that
Lisa, he's got it scheduled.
Well, not even that. I actually went to my doctor and she said you're still too early. And so
finish your thought.
And yeah, sorry. Anyways, so I'm saying is that I want to make the decisions in life that give God the most opportunity to bless my life and give me the amount of time that I'm supposed to have.
We're really
like that is very much based on your choice.
Yeah, we're really of the mindset that like God's heart is to bless us. When we seek first his kingdom, he gives us the desires of his heart, and he desires to bless us. And, when I read the story of Adam and Eve and them even being sent out of the garden, basically like it says in the scripture that God looked at that and he knew that it would not be good for them, that once they had eaten of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, to stay in the garden, because then they might eat of the tree of life, which gives eternal life. And so essentially it was not the best thing for them, given the choices that they had made, to stay in the garden, because they might have been in that broken state eternally. And essentially God blessed them and he created them clothes and he sent them out, but it wasn't a punishment. I think we get this mindset of God, this angry God, like pointing his finger out of the garden saying, get away from me. And that was never the heart of God. He was blessing them to the full capacity that he could, given the choices that they'd made. And so we can't go off of God's perfect plan for us and like poison our bodies and do these different things and then constantly pray for healing while still doing those things. But there's so much grace, and I believe that God can even miraculously heal us in a sense. But you hear of people who were addicted to drugs, and God, came in and he restored parts of their body and he gave them health back in their body. I believe that he can heal us, but when we're continually doing the same thing and we haven't come to a place of repentance, which the word repentance, the root word of that is actually metanoia, which it actually means changing the way you think and then changing your direction. And we talk about coming to a place of repentance as in just do something different. But how many times have you said, I'm repenting of this thing that I feel conviction of? I'm repenting of this thing. And you try so hard to change the action, but if you don't actually change the thinking behind the action, you can only change the action for so long. Like repentance has to be a change of mind first. And so for us, if I were to eat total junk morning to night every single day, God would still love me the same. A lot of what we get is conviction. Some of that is shame and guilt, and it doesn't come from God. Some of that is saying, you're so bad, look at your choices. That's not the voice of God. That's not what he says. Really, God comes to convince us of our righteousness and convince us of what it is that he's given us, which is freedom. It's for freedom that we've been set free. And so whenever he comes and he gives us this freedom and he says, I've made you for this great calling, I've made you to steward my kingdom into the earth, he's convincing of us of something. And whenever we feel convinced of who we are in him, we go, oh man, this habit that is holding us back, this doesn't fit me anymore. This is not becoming of who I am as the righteousness of Christ. And then we want to push that away from ourselves. And I am so preaching right now. I didn't mean to go there, but essentially where we are at right now is God is giving us a tremendous vision for where he's wanting to take us. God is, I mean, he wants to use anybody that's willing to establish his kingdom on the earth and to be his heart and to walk out this life with, you know, the Holy Spirit living inside of us and Jesus operating through us and loving people and coming in contact and bringing hope and healing to people. God desires that so much. But when we are held back in our choices, we are just limiting the height of his ability to bless us that way. And our thing is, and the thing that we are in agreement on in our life is we want to confront everything that hinders the love of God in our life. And if it's choices, if it's attitudes, if we're snappy with each other, if we're impatient with our kids, if we're dealing with these things, we literally want to look at that and go, nope, that's got to go, because that's going to hinder God's love in my life. Sorry, that was a long talk. Oh, somebody said something and I had it stopped and I was going to say something. It was Cena, I think. And we were talking about being 100 pounds or overweight. You might've said 100 acres is what you were farming, but you're talking about whenever you see other people who are homesteading and dealing with weight and you think they're on their process to seeing their health change. I agree entirely. And that's why I'm saying I don't want anybody, their takeaway from what we're talking about is being like, you shouldn't put yourself in the public eye or you shouldn't be homesteading. It's not that. Like, the fact of the matter is that I feel like as a country, as not even a country, as the earth, as a culture, as a society, just people in general, we have got to go back to the garden. Our food system is broken, and I am of the belief that it's going to get turned around. I believe it's going to get overturned. I believe that right now, you know, there is a battle between darkness and light, and I am 100% convinced that light wins, that good wins, that God wins, and that there's going to be an overturning. But the thing is that the broken food system being overturned means that people have got to go back to the garden. And I don't know what it's going to look like. If that's, I don't suspect that it's going to be an easy thing for that to be overturned. And so we need food sustainability, but we can't. Like okay. So much preach. Daniel had to stop eating off of the king's table as soon as he was taken with his contemporaries into Babylon. He had to stop eating off the king's table. It's the first thing. That's where we get the Daniel fast from. As a young man, he stopped eating off the king's table, and even he was eating food from the seed, and he was healthier than everybody else there who was eating probably very fat and rich foods off the king's table. But what that speaks to me is that I think that based on the New Testament, I think that based on like the freedom of grace and the fact that we're no longer under the law and all these different things, I think that all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. So I'm not going to say you have to be a vegan. I think that the Daniel fast does show us that there's health to be had in that. However, I think all things are permissible, but not beneficial. So I don't think there's anything condemning to say you're eating that, therefore you are condemned, but is it beneficial? And so what we're saying is we don't want to be addicted to the table of this culture because we want to be able to be used to the maximum that God wants to use us. And so we want to eat what is most beneficial for us. Go ahead. Say something. I'm just talking so much. Oh, Stephanie, that is the passion of my heart to see our whole generation turn back to gardening and homesteading. And I mean, I believe that our world could be cleaned and cleansed. I believe that it will be. That it will be. I mean, I believe for that. I believe in reformation.
40 years that they'll look back at this time and they'll be learning about it in schools about how the food corruption and pharmaceutical and medical corruption was exposed and how it was making people sick. And it was, you know, all the stuff that's going on. And it's how fast it was fixed by getting back to growing things how they're supposed to be grown and teaching people how to produce food. Like, it's crazy to me that we pay so much for organic food. You know, 100 years ago, that's just what it was. And so they literally took it away from us by giving us convenience, and now are selling it back to us for inflated prices
most people can't afford. It's sick to me.
Isn't that crazy?
That poor people have to eat Wendy's dollar menus because that's all they can feed their kids. That is sick to me. That is a picture of a broken society. And we're driving through Denver this week. We're driving through Denver, and I'm looking at these massive complexes, like $3 million complexes for people to go shoot golf on a range and different things like that. And I'm looking around, and we drive down this one block where we see 2 Ferraris parked on the same block. And I'm just looking at all this money. I'm like, this is no different than Egypt. This is no different than the slavery that took place when there were pharaohs and palaces, and the slaves that were out working in the yard that were making sure that there was food on the pharaoh's table when their babies were dying because there was nothing for them to eat. It's the same thing. We're in a generation of so much corruption, and it's no different than Babylon, but I'm not going to condemn it because I'm not going to give up on it. I refuse to give up on this generation, and I refuse to give up on this world, and I refuse to give up on people that don't know God, because I do know him, and he is good, and he is concerned, and he is active. And people say, how is it that you believe that God is good to you, but he's not good to those people? He is good to those people because he put me in the world, and he made me passionate to know that there can be change for them. He put you in the world so that you could be passionate to know that there is change for them. I believe in the goodness of God because he has been good to me, and I'm passionate to see that change. I'm a leverage point. We're conduit. And so for me, kingdom people can establish kingdom. We've been given a signet ring. We've been given the authority to speak things in the authority on our words. We've been made in the image of God who can speak the earth into existence. I believe that we can be the change that needs to happen in the world, and I am 100% confident that it'll be happening. I'm not giving up.
Okay, Lori's asking, how do we help change it? Here's my perspective on that. Okay, if you are teaching and trying to expose where all the wrong is, I feel like you're missing it. That's not going to change anything. Okay, we could talk for hours about the conspiracy theories that I think are true and all the corruption, but everyone's like, well, you can't really prove it and all this stuff. Okay, we can prove that there's a problem with the food system. Okay, look at the statistics versus 100 years ago. There's a problem with the food system. Okay, exposing that is not going to change it. Okay,
we're called to expose things, but not by just constantly pointing our fingers at them.
Okay, teach. Okay, live it. And then teach people how to do it. That's how it works. So you need to start growing your food. You need to start learning how to garden. You need to start learning where food comes from. You need to start learning these things and applying those things. And then you need to start teaching people how to do it. That will change the food. Okay, not explaining to people that sure, tell them that it's broken and all that, but getting on a soapbox or pulpit or whatever
and teach our babies
and explaining and just screaming about how corrupt it is doesn't actually change anything. Okay, this is why legacy is so important. My kids will know where their food comes from. They will make their conscious decisions. Like Toby, well, if you want to eat bacon, you're going to know that it comes from the pig that we raised, not disconnected from the bacon in the store, which even my brother Robert this weekend, who loves animals, was like, oh, I love eating meat. He's like, but how could you kill these animals? And I'm like, Robert, and I explained to him the situation with Toby. And he's like, that's a very good point. And it's the first time that we've ever really connected on something and agreed where it came to animals and all this stuff. And he's like, I'm fine. He realized that he was fine eating something as long as he didn't have to be connected to it dying. And he said, but honestly, as he really thought about it, he's like, I think I would have a much greater appreciation for what I was consuming if I was the one growing it. And so teaching people how to grow their food is way more effective than just exposing where things are wrong. And honestly, I think the food is more important than anything else. If we can fix it, honestly, like you even go back to like learning about like military strategy and how to go in and destabilize in like Roman tactics and things like that.
Which actually
goes to food.
The word apostle that we get in the Bible, an apostle was not like a super great Christian. That's not what that word meant. An apostle was actually a government term. They were sent ones. Like the apostles were the one that said, like when the Roman government were to take over a place, they sent in apostles first, which were the ones of the Roman government that started to change the culture of the place that they were going into. And so whenever Jesus sent the apostles out, what he was saying is, I'm sending out people from my kingdom who are a part of my kingdom and my government and my culture into this culture to change it. And we've made we've made Christianity into this thing where we go out and we bring people into the culture of our churches. And I love the church. God loves the church. But the thing is, if it's not what's going on in our home, we cannot hope to change the culture into being something that honors God and that experiences the fruit of his government. And our culture's broken all over. I'm sorry, our culture's broken. Even outside of the stuff that's like obviously immoral, whenever you look at the fact, like I said, that people who are in poverty stay in poverty or they die of health problems, or literally, I mean, have you sat in hospitals recently? It breaks my heart to sit in hospitals. And the amount of people that you see in hospitals that are just dirt poor and they're unhealthy. And honestly, healthcare is the only thing that they get to experience because they have government healthcare. So they can go in and they can get good healthcare because they're on the government healthcare, but they're poisoned because of the food that they're eating. I'm like, this is so broken.
And you can get overwhelmed.
It's overwhelming, so overwhelming. It really is, but it's not too big for God. And one thing that like we are so passionate about in our house, and we have 6 kids between us. We have a blended family, and our passion is in raising our children, not just to grow their own food, but to know the Lord in a really personal way. And I believe that if we're looking generationally, I believe God is a generational God. And if we're looking generationally, that we got to stop looking at what's happening in the next 5 years, and we need to start looking at the generations. What world am I leaving for my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids? And what do we believe about that? And I think that we have gotten into such a mindset as a church about the expectation of Jesus just coming and taking us at any moment that we've stopped taking responsibility for how we're treating the world. And if that's how it goes, if it is just, if we're done tomorrow, great, then I'll be snatched out of a garden if that's how it goes. But I'm not going to count on an escape plan. As far as what I'm responsible for, I'm responsible for pouring myself into children who are aware of people and who don't walk past people without seeing them and looking them in their face and knowing that they're valuable and they're beloved of the Lord. I want my children to be burdened by the things that burden the heart of God. I want to raise them to take responsibility. And, and right now we're changing our diet, and that's why, because I want to live until I can, the longest that I can. But also because I want to set an example for my kids to not be addicted and not be enslaved to this broken culture. I want them to change it. Oh, absolutely. There is so much. I mean, there's so much medicine and plants and food. And I mean, it's just, we have what we need. We have what we need.
Yes, so I feel like the food movement is connected to the cultural reformation. It's connected to the medical. It's connected to the pharmaceutical. I mean, really, if you fix the food, then so much of what needs to be fixed in our government and in our nation will be restored. And so that's where we're putting our focus and teaching our kids about it. Because honestly, it may take longer than our lifetime. And so that's okay.
That's okay.
Because their kids will learn it and have value in it. And then their kids will learn it and have value in it. And, God will take care of the long-term big picture.
Yeah. We live in this broken system, and we honestly, we live in a broken church system too. We live in a broken religious society. And some of the beliefs that we've gotten comfortable with are honestly, they're hindering our effectiveness in this culture. And part of that has been, being so focused on what we're going to do personally. And let me tell you this, guys, you guys blessed me so much when you encouraged us the way that you were touched and you were changed by what we're doing here. And that is so good. But this will not be the greatest accomplishment of my life that I reached a bunch of people. I expect that the greatest accomplishment of my life, and that I am fully confident that this is going to be it, because I will pour my whole life into making sure it's true. My greatest accomplishment in this life will be Malia and Jackson and Asher and Toby and Ezra and Benjamin, period. That's it. Those will be the greatest accomplishments of my life. And what they do will actually be the fruit of my life. And this is too, and being able to share with you guys is too. And this affects change too, because if my fire on a little thing like this can light a fire inside of you, then God has done something that's worth it. And that's why we do this, is because he told us to live in a glass house, and I have to believe that it matters. But ultimately, I think that we have been tricked as a society to believe that we have to produce something good ourselves that we can put our name on. And what if it's just your babies? What if it's just a handful of people that you disciple and the handful of people that you teach? And I use the garden as an analogy because I believe that matters so much. I believe it matters to the Lord. And I do believe that if we stop being dependent on the culture's table, and just like Daniel, we stop eating off of the culture's table and we begin to trust God's plan for us and what he's telling us. And I believe that takes us back to the garden. Like, we can disciple people in that, but Jesus's model was to not reach the masses. It was to closely disciple 12. Like, that was the model that was given to us, was to closely disciple a next generation to go forth and to go out. And there were masses reached in the meantime, but that was never the focus. And like, I feel like that's what we get to do on YouTube. We reach the masses in the meantime, but our focus is our family and our home, because that's where our real generational legacy is. And we get to produce all this fruit too. But if we go after the masses, what gets lost is the home, and what gets lost is the legacy. The masses can't be your focus. It has to be the sidelines, and it can be so fruitful.
And honestly, as the church is healed, the culture will follow suit, because, I'm a firm believer that, honestly, the church should not be being influenced by the culture. The church should not be adjusting what Scripture says, or what Scripture says, what's truth should not be forgiving to what the culture is pressing. The church in love should be influencing the culture. We say, where is the church failing right now? Let's just give an example. In Scripture from Jesus, you are to take care of orphans and widows. But in America right now, who takes care of orphans and widows?
The government.
The government. Okay, the church is not doing its job, and so the government is doing its job for it.
And so the government has a place to be the influence to the situation. And what we see, honestly, if we're being completely honest, what we see as far as what is broken, it reflects a failure of the church to not do what they're called to do as far as influencing the culture. Now, and again, I say that without condemnation. Now, I don't believe we can be an influence to anybody if we're not in a place of devotion with Jesus. Thank you, Chris. I believe this all comes from an overflow of devotion with Jesus, because what happens is you hear the convincing. You hear God saying, hey, this is who you are, and this is what I have for you. And you begin shedding off those things that would hold you back. And I shared this in the devotional recently, but like, being in a place of devotion means that you have an unsurmountable and a completely unshakable security. Because the thing is I don't care if 650 people are watching or if nobody's watching. The message in my heart is the same. I don't care if I have tons of, I don't care if I have tons of money and resources or if I don't. The message in my heart is the same, and it's been the same. It's been the same when there was no audience. It's been the same when there was no resources. It's been the same without that. And I think that when you get to that place of devotion and you model that place of devotion for your children, you kind of get some leverage power. Like, when you really get totally rooted in that place, God begins to say, oh, that one's seeking first my kingdom. Now let's add all this to you. And that's been the experience of our lives and what we've been doing. That's been the experience for us. One thing I think it was on Facebook recently. I don't know. I just saw this today. It was something I had posted a while ago. I don't know if I had shared it, if it was in my memories or what, that it basically was something I had shared, that modeled convictions are so much more powerful than, preached opinions, essentially, was the point of that. And I really believe that the first thing you do when you start to feel this is you address yourself and you address your household, and God uses that. The scripture in Matthew, like, you don't put a burning lamp underneath a basket, underneath a bushel, and we know the little kids song, this is the light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And this is something a preacher that I like to listen to said, and it just really affected me the first time I heard him say it. He said, if, that song that says, don't let Satan blow it out. And he's like, if you have a light that can be blown out, then I can call into question the power of your encounter. Like, Satan can't blow out my light. He can't. And God's not going to put it under a basket, because what good would that be? What does God do with a burning person is he puts them up on a stand. And I've seen so many people going after influence and going after the masses and going after that stuff. You want to know what to do to get influence in the culture? Burn for Jesus. Just burn. That means meet with him when nobody's watching.
And being set apart from the culture does not mean removing yourself from it. That's not what that means. Like, so many times I've had so many conversations where it's like, we're supposed to be set apart from the world, so I'm going to isolate my family or whatever away from the influences of the world. And honestly, that's not it. Like, even for my kids, like, honestly, like, my plan is not to isolate them away from all the bad things that can happen to them. But rather than, I think our goal is to teach them and honestly orchestrate an encounter with God for them that I can walk in confidence that they won't be influenced by what they encounter in the world, because that's really the only chance they have, honestly, is they can walk so confidently in who they are in God that they won't be influenced, not be isolated. I don't think isolation actually does anything beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get on the internet.
Okay. Well, just give us a minute.
We're almost done.
We're almost done.
We're almost done. Not right now.
No, go. Guys, we're not listening.
Here, y'all come here. You can say hi, and then y'all can go lay down.
Can I have an apple?
Yes, you can have an apple.
Oh, you want to watch a movie?
Thank you guys so much for your encouragement.
Hi.
Oh.
Hi. Oh.
They can't see you.
They can't see you.
Hi.
All right, go on.
Oh. Well, yeah, we're still alive. Thank you guys so much. I think our kids kind of just totally derailed this, but that's okay.
Yeah, well,
We should probably
we've
get
been
them
an
there.
hour over. So.
Yeah, we did go an hour over. Thank y'all so much for the encouragement. Links, Acres, what you've been sharing is really interesting about ruminants and stuff. I'm going to read more about that because I think those are really good points. Yeah, it's interesting to me that when people do get a platform for Jesus, you'll see a lot of people come out of the woodwork and they always want to put you on the spot with questions of like, as soon as you start talking for Jesus, people are like, and we get these messages really regularly, and people are like, but, and sometimes it's from people that are not believers of God, and sometimes it is from people who profess to be Christians, but they want to ask you like the yes or no, the wrong or right questions. They want to be like, well, do you believe that this is a sin? And do you believe that this is a sin? And do you believe that this? What do you think about this? And it's almost like they want to put you on the spot to discredit what it is that you're saying. And that to me is such a shame, really. And my belief is that in the beginning, Adam and Eve were in a garden and they walked closely with God and they had everything that they ever wanted. And a serpent came, and by using doubt and saying, is this really what God said? They were convinced to basically eat of the tree of wrong versus right, and the knowledge of wrong versus right, and the knowledge of good and evil, and to make themselves like God. People who were made in the image of God that were fully satisfied were convinced through doubting what God said to make themselves like God and judging wrong versus right and knowing wrong versus right. And so when someone approaches me and the first question they have out of their mouth is, well, do you believe that this is a sin? My answer is, I don't eat off that tree. I eat off the tree of abundant life, which says that Jesus Christ died to make a way for anybody who wants it into eternal life and into relationship with God. And so the idea of, well, I'd like for you to come sit here with me and let's make it our business to say what's wrong. That's not my primary message. And the thing is I believe that the Holy Spirit is capable of convincing people of righteousness and dealing with whatever that they're wearing that doesn't fit that righteousness. And so I would like to urge everybody into a relationship with him rather than try to convince people of wrong versus right. Because the fact of the matter is, most people who are doing things that are wrong, they know they're wrong. And the problem is that knowing that they're wrong is what pushes us into shame and does the exact opposite, which is to push us away from God. Because after Adam and Eve ate off of that tree and God came and called their name in the cool of the day, they were hiding. And so if God's purpose is to be close to us, the enemy's purpose is to push us away from God so he can prove that God's not worthy of worship. And so I don't eat off that tree. I eat off the tree of life, which says that Jesus is enough. If we will draw into him, he's going to deal with all that stuff. So we just have to be convinced of our righteousness. Oh,
You want to pray?
yeah, let's pray. You want to pray
No,
first?
you're the fiery one. You do.
Stop it.
You've been on the road.
You definitely should pray too.
You're wearing the pants right now.
Stop. Just joking. Oh, Father God, I thank you so much for the opportunity to share this passion of our hearts with all of these people, God. I thank you, Father, that your word is an infallible seed and that every seed that was scattered this night, God, that you are the steward of that seed. And I just thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be a seed sower, God, and for putting so much seeds in my pocket, God, that you have overwhelmed my life with seeds to sow. And I just thank you so much for that. And so I just ask that you would water these seeds, that you would grow them, and that you would bring them to harvest. And every person who received the seed into their life, God, that they would receive a harvest off of it. Father, I thank you for every person who blessed us with encouragement. And I ask that blessing would just be poured back on them tenfold, God. I thank you so much for every person that is currently listening to this. And I just ask that as a testament to the word that we are sharing tonight, Father, you say that our words, whenever we share about you, are proven with signs and wonders, God, that these things follow whenever we preach your kingdom. And so, Father, I just ask that you would remove pain from the bodies of the people who are listening, God, that you would break through in circumstances for the people who are listening, God, that you would bring dreams and visions into their life, God. And every person who is hearing these words, Father, that the seeds that have been sown into their heart, Father, that you would come and move on those things with signs and wonders, God, that you would begin to speak to people in unusual ways and that they would hear your voice in a way that they never have before. And I ask that this would be an open door into their life for you to move in a greater measure, that they would be aware of you in a greater measure, Father. And I just ask for blessings, for the windows of heaven to just open and pour out on them, God, with more of you. That's one thing that you never, ever deny us of, God, is more of you and more of your true nature to come into their life, Father, for the places where they are hiding from you in shame and condemnation, God, for you to just break that with the blood of Jesus, that you would just pour the blood of Jesus on those situations and they would begin to understand your heart for them and your love for them. I ask that you would unleash dreams and unlock dreams on people, God, that each person that is listening, God, that they would begin to dream again of things that they have forgotten since they were children, the things that they used to hope for that they have called impossible because they have only seen their own circumstances and their strength, Father. I just ask that they would begin to dream like Jesus over the circumstances, that people would no longer feel overwhelmed with fear when they see the brokenness of our earth, God, that you would come into those situations. I ask for God lenses to come over these people. I ask for bloodstained lenses to come over, and that people would be able to look at the corruption in our government and they would be able to speak life over this situation, God, that they would be able to see these things and see clear directive, clear blueprints, God, that they would begin to imagine what it would be like for our earth to be restored and for our earth to be clean and for you to sit on the throne, God, and be acknowledged by humanity. And we just praise you and we say that you are worthy of our worship. You are worthy of our praise. You are worthy of our choice of you. We see your choice for us and we come back at you with a choice for you. And we ask for grace to do that, God. I just thank you for the convincing of our righteousness. I thank you, God, that you are showing us what it means to be righteous as you are righteous, and that we can be in relationship with you. And we say no more hiding in the garden, God. We just no more hiding in the garden. I just thank you for calling our name, and we just respond to you. We love you. We love you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Are you going to pray? No.
I'm sure I can pray something. I got a little something.
Pray. Yeah.
So silly. And God, I just ask that as this seed goes out and as that people are faithful to receive it, that God, you would prepare them as good soil. My God, we just know that in the parable about sowing seed, that there were different kinds of soil, and that there were different things that would happen to the seed depending on what kind of soil it was or where it was sown. And so, God, we just ask that you would prepare the soil, these people and their hearts, God, to receive what you would have them to hear. And God, that it would not come with shame or condemnation or defensiveness, God, but that, even if something is hard to receive, God, that they'd be willing to let it be buried and to die and to multiply. And God, and just affect change. And so, God, we just thank you for the revelation that we are the garden and that you delight in resting in us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We love you guys. I think our internet just went off. Wouldn't that be funny?
Did it just stop right then?
Might have. Well, if
If you guys watch this back later to find out how it ends,
we
we're
bless
ending
you.
the stream.
Until
Good
next
night.
time.